Okay. Now I welcome Saroj Mohapatra sir. Sir, you are welcome to this meeting. I am very much thankful to you. So kindly continue the session. Over to Saroj Mohapatra sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Hello.
Yes, sir. Good morning. You can continue.
Good morning to you all, my dear student. So today I will start our counseling class, the MPS-3 assigned by the RC Bhubaneswar. I myself, Saroj Kumar Mohapatra, lecturer in political science. So my dear friends, you should keep your audio video in the mute position so that it can be clearly audible. Now we'll start the paper 3, MPS-3, Democracy and Development in India. Before I start regarding this topic, I want to say about the topics, the democracy and development in India. India accepted democracy as a ideal for the advancement of its people. The Constituent Assembly deliberated upon the models of development and ideals of democracy for the social transformation and development, many of which found place in the provision of the Constitution of India. The predominant role given to the bureaucracy within the context of the social, political, and economic diversity placed the state in a domineering position. But within a few decades, that is 3 decades from 1990, interrelated development like liberalization, globalization, decentralization, along with the rise of identity politics have introduced on democracy and development in India. This book, particularly paper 3, book 1, Democracy and Development, acknowledges a general background of democracy in India about its institutions, processes, and social force. This book concentrates 4 important themes relating to democracy and development in India, such as a background to the democracy and development in India in terms of legacy of the national movement, debates on development, constitution and social transformation, social, economic and political context, state institutions and political processes. So this is about the democracy and the development that books in a nutshell. Now we will start Unit 1, that legacy of the national movement which the country had inherited at the time of independence. Some ideas which proves the legacy of freedom movement includes that Saroj, social, economic and political rights, planning, socialism. That means the student will acknowledge what are the legacy of the freedom movement. Hmm. Hmm. So now I will that show the PDF in the presentation. Uh,
ସମ୍ବଲପୁରୀରେ ପଢ଼ମା।
Off your audio. All are requested to keep their audio and video in off position. Pavitra, why don't you off your video? Yes, sir. Now you can present.
Yes. Now the question arises: what is the legacy of a national movement? One of the lasting legacies of the national movement was the rise of Indian nationalism and the creation of an Indian identity. How the Indian people will identify themselves? This was the sincere efforts of the elite masses of the India. This was a long process whose roots can be drawn from the ancient era. Independent India is a faithful reflection of the legacy of our national movement, which can be treated as an example. The long sufferings of Indian people by British colonialism and exploitation of intermediate landowners like Jamidars and Mujadars created the feelings of patriotism among the people of India, for which they united for national movement to liberate their mother country like India. They felt the end of colonial rule is necessary for the elevation of poverty in India. So, in the Unit 1, some sub-points like the foundation of Indian National Congress, my dear students, you see, the within limited span of time, we have to cover the 6 units. So it is too difficult to cover up all the points in detail. So that is why I have prepared some pinpointed notes. Not there, sir. Please. Yes.
Sir, ये देखुछन आ टिके जूम करके देखेबे पिला को भल देखा जबा टिके
जूम आउट करबा
हां आ टिके जूम कर देबा हां बस बस पिला को भल देखा जबो प्लस मधे मधे जो डिफिकल्ट जिनला टिके ओडिया रे बुझ देबे
मोर टिके लेटर टा टिके स्मॉल
हां ठीक अछि एबे टिके बस मधे मधे टिके जूम कर देबे आ डिफिकल्ट वर्ड आडा टिके पिला को ओडिया रे बुझ देबे
हां हां ओडिया कहबा
हां नहीं डिफिकल्ट जोडा को सबडा ओडिया नो जोडा लागिबा आपन को जोडा डिफिकल्ट अछि पिला मन को बुझिया को सेडा टिके टिके ओडिया रे एक्सप्लेन कर देबे हो
हां 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 ठीक है
सबडा ओडिया नहीं इंग्लिश से चलियो मैक्सिमम किंतु डिफिकल्ट इन जोडा टिके ओडिया रे एक्सप्लेन कर देबे हो
आ प्राय पिला भी अछंती तो ए माने आछंती जो बोलू
हां हां
अच्छा अच्छा पिला माने भी जो सर लिसन मी पिला माने जूम करके ताकू देखि परिबे किछि प्रॉब्लम नहीं
देख परिबे तो हां ठीक अछि
हां पिला माने जूम करके देखि परिबे मैं ताकू पीडीएफ फाइल कर दी तो
हां 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 ओके सर ओके ओके सर
okay okay in the first unit some that points particularly the foundation of Indian National Congress, Gandhi's contribution, the substance of Saroj, Karachi resolution of the Congress, the idea of socialism, the idea of planning, the nature of Gandhi's economy, the Gandhian social philosophy, the consensus. So all these concepts, the aspects, it gives the indication of legacy of a national movement with the reference to the development, rights and participation. In the foundation of Indian National Congress, you see, in 1885, INC, Indian National Congress, was formed by the enlightened Indian as an umbrella organization of all sections of the Indian people. It was founded with a modest constitutionalist outlook and choose the strategy of petitions and persuasion rather than the pressure and that agitation. Initially, Indian National Congress was concerned with the problems of the elite, like representation of Indians to the senior government services and the legislative bodies. सेतेबेले जो इंडियन जो लोक मानकू जो प्रतिनिधित्व दिया जाउ नथिला जे प्राय जो हाईएस्ट जो ऑफिशियल किंबा हमर जो विधान जो व्यवस्था रे इंडियन लोक मानकू चांस दिया ना. But when Gandhi joined in the Indian National Congress, he fought for peasantry and also the workers. The ideas which evolved in the post-independent India, these were merely the Swaraj, political rights, socialism, planning, and others. So far as the contribution of Gandhi, we can say when Gandhi formed in the Indian National Congress, freedom movement demand for the land reform, which was not earlier. Abolition of Jomidari and grant of ownership of land to the tillers. Tillers माने जो माने चाष करते समानकर अधिकार किसी नथिला. So Gandhi interfered in this regard and demanded that जो माने चाष करूचंती समानंकु जमीर मालिकाना दिया जिबा दरकार. Not only this much, it also demanded permanent settlement of land. जो कॉर्नवालिस समय जो हेइथला तो गांधी मध्य चिरस्थायी बंदोबस्त कथा मध्य डिमांड रखिले. सो ये जो कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ गांधी रो अछि कोन ना स्वराज संपर्क रे कहबा कोन ना दैट इज द सेल्फ रूल. दिस इज द आइडिया ऑफ गांधी. On January 26, 1930, Congress all over the country took the plea of a complete independence. Eighty pilamane mu koi rakhe. I may put a question that in the Constituent Assembly was adopted the 1949 in November 26. But why the Constitution came into force in 1950 January 26? The reason behind is that under the leadership of the Gandhi, this particular date on January 26, 1930, the congressmen all over the country took the pledge of complete independence. आमे स्वराज हासिल करिब बोली एई जो प्रतिज्ञा करिथिले. On the commemoration of that date, our Constituent Assembly, the Constitution, came into force in 1950 January 6, 26, only to commemorate this particular day. So this is the contribution of Gandhi. Regarding Karachi session, we can say which was organized held in the 1930s, particularly in the matters of socio-economic rights to secure a decent standard of living. So, regarding the economic matters and the idea for planning, without planning, no state can be developed. The Gandhian economic always concentrated on the development of the all sections of the society. So that is why he was a precession. So this is somewhat about the unit one, that is legacy. That is legacy of national movement with reference to development rights and participation. Next, my dear students, will that go for the second unit, which includes that debates on model of development. Debates on models of development. That means for the development of a democracy and the state building. What sort of a model have been undertaken by the Indian people? So this unit includes the background, the confusing overlaps. What was the confusion? The debates on land policy, the system of control, the issue of nationalization, the issue of planning, industrial relations, the political debates, the objective resolution of the Constituent Assembly. That means these particular the debates have strengthened the model of development and democracy in India. So we can say in a nutshell, particularly this debates and model of development of this unit, it expresses that development at the time of independence and constitutional making. That means when constitution was framing, what was the problems and issues which strengthened to make a workable constitution in India. It expresses that the debate was complex and included the diverse issues like land reform. It is a major problem. The land reform, the land was under the possession of the landlords, the jamidars. The jamidars were exploited to the tillers. So केमिति सेगुड़ाक गोटे संस्कार आसिबो ताहापर मध्य आलोचना कराइतला. द सिस्टम ऑफ कंट्रोल गुड्स वर्तमान आमे जो कहउजंदी रेशन, of course it was for the war time that overcome war time period रे कि overcome करिया पे एटा को सोल्जर मानक पठा जाउतला. किंतु आफ्टर वार इज ओवर याकू कौन कराला ना समस्त जनसाधारण किबळी क्राइसिस समय पाई परिबे से कथा पई गोटे डिस्कशन डिबेट हेतिला whether it will abolish the system of control or it will continue. The system of control goods, issues of nationalization. That means for the better development of democracy and institution, the debate was going on regarding the nationalization of that economic industries and also the जो समय बैंक फैंक एगुड़ा सब से प्रोसेस होता industrial planning and development, political debate on budget and objective resolution of the Constituent Assembly. These models strengthen to make our Constitution, and a thorough discussion debates were held in the Constituent Assembly from 1996 up to 1947. Next, we get, then it was adopted in 1949 November 26. Here in this unit, we acknowledge about the model of development in the independent India. Some debates concentrate on Gandhian views and their feasibility. While others deliberated on the capital mode of industrialization. The gote Gandhian views ताकू केमिति से मॉडल ले केमिति डेवलपमेंट करा जाई पारे एवं आउ किछि जुक्ति उपस्थापन कले the model of industrialization, capital mode of industrialization, केमिति डेवलपमेंट हाबो. The issue of debate in को केंद्र करी कोन हला ना the issue of our debate included the system of control, planning, nationalization, industrial development, policies, so on. The essence of these debates pledge to safeguard the interest of the people in India in all aspects relating to political, social and economy, and uphold the liberal and welfare ideas. ये जिते प्रकार मॉडल गुड़ाक सब आम डिस्कसन डिबेट होता तार मौलिक उद्देश्य थिला जे भारतर जनसाधारण जो स्वार्थ को क्षेत्र में ना समस्त राजनीतिक सामाजिक एवं अर्थनैतिक जो दिग बा न्याय किमिति पाई परिबे एवं किमिति गोटे लिबराल वेलफेयर स्टेट हेई पारिबो डेमोक्रेटिक डेवलपमेंट हेई पारिबो ए विषय डिस्कशन. So next we follow the do you want to I want to clarify regarding the control, the system of control. The system of control and ration on food supply had been necessary during the World War II because it is an imperial government for the purpose of food supply. Not only may it strengthen the smooth transition to the peace economy, but may also become the instrument of long-term economic planning in our country. The veterans of Indian National Congress and others, they decided that after war is over, this system should continue in India for the betterment of the people. That Gandhi lent his moral support to the decontrol, demand and control was lifted for a period in the timing, but when prices rose high, control was again imposed. My dear student, I can say in this corona period, some of the necessary goods and commodities are not available. That government is trying to provide to the general public within that simple rate. So the idea of that system of control, which was a model for the democracy development in the past that has been reflected in our constitutional and also governance. Next, again I will say that due to that short span of time, I have to overcome some data points that particularly the issue of planning. Issue of planning is the sub-unit, sub-point of this second unity. Regarding this planning, I would say that without planning there is no development. But there was the Soviet planning of socialism, and it was also opposed by some veterans of the Congress. But however, the planning commission was not established when Patel was released. After the death of Patel, that a planning commission in India could be set up under the cabinet and with the prime minister as the chairman. Planning commission development the industrial relations for the industrialization, how the nation will develop, will provide that economy and employment. Similarly, the political debates. That means the ideological debate had its impact on the politics around the period of independence. The period around independence saw a sharp ideological debate on the future course of India's development. There is no wonder. So ideological debate was partly reflected in the proceedings of the Constituent Assembly of India that framed the Constitution. So I will say some few words about the subpoint. The objective resolution also a model or a model of debates and a discussion. The resolution pledged to establish an independent sovereign republic of India, which, along with its component parts, would derive all power and authority from the people of India. This should also be a guarantee to all people in India, that is justice, social, economic, and political equality of status and of opportunity and before the law. Freedom of thought, expression, beliefs, worship, vocation, association and action subject to law and public morality. All these things have been included in the objective resolution after thorough discussion, deliberative discussion, arguments and amendments in the Constituent Assembly for our development, democracy and development. Further, the adequate safeguards have to be provided for minorities, backward, tribal area, and depressed and other backward classes. So that is you might have known that fifth schedule, the sixth schedule has been included in our constitution. So these are the developmental model which was discussed in a debatable way for the development of democracy in India. Next, we have to go for Unit 3. For Unit 3, the topic is Constitution and Social Transformation. The Constitution and the Social Transformation. Because we know the Constitution of a country is the highest legal political document for the government, and we say it is the horoscope of the state. The fundamental law of the land is called the Constitution. It also embodies the statement of rights of the people, is a lawfully established. In a general sense, it lays down the structure of power and obligation of the rulers towards the ruled. Such obligation implies not only the limit of the governmental power, but also the expectation of the people from the government. That means a parity has been maintained in between the political authority and also the individual liberty. So that is why the Constitution and the social transformation, how it has been developed, it includes some substance like outlook of Indian Constitution, the preamble, the rights of the people, nature of rights, then the directive principles of state policy, DPSP. DPSP that includes the common good and a life of dignity in the sphere of law, in the economic sphere, rights of worker for children and weaker sections, and the sphere of agriculture and environment. So in this regard, that I would say this particular Unit 3, it focuses on the provision in the Constitution of India, which aims at social transformation in the country. That is, it aims at social transformation in the country. It gives us knowledge about preamble of the Constitution, the provision about the fundamental rights, directory principles of state policy, which ensures safeguard to the rights of workers, children, weaker sections like SC, ST, and the nature. All these concepts provide the guidelines for social transformation. Like the preamble, we can say, what is the necessity to know the preamble? What it acknowledges us? It acknowledges 4 things. That is, who are the sources of the Constitution? Nature of a policy, the objectives, and the date of adoption of the Constitution. For which the preamble that signifies the who are the sources of the Constitution. The sources of the Constitution, which have been enshrined in the preamble, the we the people. We the people means the Indian people solemnly they have made their state a sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic, and a republic. So it is the solemn declaration of the Indian people. It has not been a gift. It is the particularly the heartfelt feeling how the state can be made for themselves. The nature of a polity, it was also decided by the people of India. The how and what is the necessity and importance of sovereign states, the secular states, socialist states, democratic states, and why the republic. My dear students, you might have known we had got the independence in the year 1947, August 15. But it was not the complete independence because the any decision which is taken in the Indian legislature, it was signed by the king or queen of England because the head of the state of India was the British king or queen. But the constitution came into force in 1950 and we elected unanimously that elected president, not a nominated. So republic means the states where the head of the state is an elected one, that is called a republic. Here I would say sometimes it is also asked the question to my students also, the postgraduate students in the different competitive examinations, like what is the official name of India? Can you say? The official name of India is Republic India, not India, Republic India. Like China, Republic China. So, anyway, the subpoints in this unit, a significant point about a constitution that is future oriented rather than past oriented. People who administer their affairs according to traditions and customs do not need a constitution. The memories of their elders are sufficient for them. Memories of elders means the constitutional makers, the forefathers of Indian constitution. Historically, whenever a constitution has been framed, it is followed a revolution. A revolution. A constitution has been intended to usher in a new social and political order. Anyway, so far as the preamble I have already detected, and all the students they should remember the objectives. Regarding the preamble, I told that preamble gives us information, knowledge, four things, that is sources of the constitution, nature of polity, objectives, and date of adoption. The next, that the objectives, that is what is the aim and objectives of our constitution. It has been reflected. That is justice, that all the people should be in India should be given justice. Justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought and expression, belief, faith and worship. Equality of status and of opportunity to promote among them all. And the fraternity, assuring the dignity and unity and integrity of the nation. And in this, this is the objectives. Then the preamble also gives us information regarding the date of adoption. That is not they came into force, not for practice, only adoption. The we do here by adopt, enact, and give ourselves this constitution in the 26th November 1949. This is the preamble. So it is the transformation from social to the political. Then the rights of the people. The rights of the people, that is the fundamental rights. And I want to inform you in the nutshell regarding this unit. The highest legal political character of Indian polity has been reflected in this unit. The Indian Constitution covers itself the positive aspects based on experiences of the people around the world. So that is why our constitution is the most workable constitution in the world. The concept of a preamble is just like the main soul of a constitution, which aims at safeguarding the rights of the people and ensure justice, socio, economic, and political aspects. Similarly, directory principles of state policy, on the other hand, regarded as the fundamental in the matters of governance. This is the action part of the government, fundamental that in the matters of governance. It ensures socio-economic justice with a broad view to establish a welfare state. Not only this much, this DPSP also ensures to safeguard the rights of workers, children, women, weaker sections like SC and ST, develop and protect the agriculture of India, the environment of India, the forest resources of India, as well as the wildlife of the country. So, taking into consideration all these aspects, the constitutional development and the social transformation has been taken place. And I would say regarding the rights of the people, when the constitutional makers decided to provide rights to the individual, they had a thought that not to give excess power and authority to the ruler. At the time when the ruler will abuse his power, how people can check it. So that is why constitutional makers, they are deliberately that debates on how a parity can be maintained in between state authority and the individual liberty. That is why the fundamental rights has been that guaranteed by the Constitution, and it has been protected by the Supreme Court of India. So that is why, so far as the nature is concerned, for the Indian people enjoy the rights, fundamental rights, they are negative in nature, because it restrains the power and authority of the state when it abuses. যদি ଆମର এই ଅଧିକାର ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ନଥାନ୍ତା, ତାହେଲେ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରର ସରକାର ମନ ଇଚ୍ଛା ଯାହା କରନ୍ତା ତାହା ଆମେ ମାନିବା ପାଇଁ ବାଧ୍ୟ। That keeping in this plea, keeping in this that particularly means we are taking to the government not to take any that decision that is outrightly, that is of his own. The rights are negative in the form of, in as much as they restrict the authority from violating these rights. When the people are wandering and here and there in the pandemic situation in the coronavirus, when the police catch them, they are also pointing out that it is a violation of individual fundamental right, because I am going to purchase some medicines from the medicine store, so why I should be checked? Because, but at the same time, the people should conscious that fundamental rights are not always absolute. For the interest of the nation, peace and order, it can be restricted. Anyway, so how these rights are negative in nature, I want to say the following points. The rights are negative in the form of the much as the restrict the authorities from violating these rights. One. Number two, while most of these rights are against the state, some of them, like the rights against untouchability and the right to protect the minority, Article 17 and Article 19, are against the society. While most of the rights are guaranteed to the individuals, some are guaranteed to groups, like Article 27, 29, 27 for that freedom of religion, 29 the minority community, they have been given certain liberty. They have been given liberty to have their literature and monuments, all sort of that rights and the liberty. Number four, most of the rights are conditional upon considerations of public interest. Law and order, like what I told you that regarding the pandemic coronavirus situation, the public interest, law and order, that decency and welfare of certain weaker sections of the people. These words are significant in the understanding of the nature of rights in India. Next, so far as the DCSD is concerned, I will say in the nutshell, directive principles of state policy is that it is mainly for the governance of the state, and the aims and objectives to include directive principles of state policy by the constitutional maker to make our state a welfare state and to provide socio-economic justice to the individual. My dear student, the question may be asked in this regard, like the directive principles of state policy are not intended for political justice. ଏଭଳି କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ହଉଛି ଆସିପାରେ Then why it stand for? Now it is stand for the socio-economic justice to the individual as well as to make the state a welfare state. The state in bringing forth the socio-economic transformation was assigned by the Constitution of India through directory principles of state policy. These principles are not directly enforceable by the law courts, like fundamental rights. If we compare with the fundamental rights and the directory principles of state policy, the fundamental rights are justiciable and the directory principles are non-justiciable. Any violation of fundamental rights, the individual rights, we can move to the court of law under Article 32 at the Supreme Court and the Article 226 in the state high court. But the violation of the directory principles of state policy by the government, the was cannot move to the court of law against it. But there is a provision because the verdict behind this violation is supreme. That means it is backed by the public opinion. Suppose the directory principles which is been enumerated in the Constitution under Article 36 to 51, it is meant for the welfare development of all sections of the society. But you see, the directory principles of state policy, it will not work out. So whatever things in the directory principles of state policy like common good in the life of dignity, in the sphere of law, the economic sphere, what sort of facilities has been given to the worker, children, weaker section in the sphere of agriculture, and all these things, if it will not undertake by or implement by the government, what will happen? So who will implement it? Is the direction of the state to the government to implement? If the government will not implement, in the next general election, the people will not cast their vote in this government particularly, because they will forgo that this government has not implemented the directory principles of state policy, which that includes justice, socio-economic and political. ये किसी करी नहीं, तेणुक आम भोट दबू ना. So in Odisha you see our that government is so clever, so they are giving that emphasis directory principles of state policy, like the old age pension, the widow pension, the handicap pension. Apart from these, the directory principles, directory principles of state policy includes like that in how the easy politics, how the easy way the ballot box can be developed, that is the food for work, particularly the meal at the rate of 5 to the workers. শীত দিନରେ କମଳ, ଖରା ଦିନରେ ଛତା, ଚଷମା, ବୃଦ୍ଧ ବୃଦ୍ଧା ମାନଙ୍କୁ ନେଇଯିବା କୋଉଠିକି ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଯୋଉ ଟୁରକୁ, so that they will be biased towards the government. So anyway, we will not go for that. So far as the dignity of the people which has been included in the that particularly DPSP, The state shall in particular strive to minimize inequalities in income, eliminate inequalities of status. भारत रे अवस्थित जो जनसाधारण भितर कौन वैषम्यता रही सो फॉर इक्वालिटी so that the state shall promote and provide the facilities and opportunities not only among the individuals but also among groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations, which has been enumerated in the Article 38. 38. In the sphere of law, we can say the state shall secure that operation of the legal system promotes justice on a basis of equal opportunity and shall in particular provide free legal aid by suitable legislation or schemes or in any other way to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen by reason of economic and other disability. कौन लोक को तार न्याय वंचित करा जो वुमेन माने चिल्ड्रेन माने जब कौन कोर्ट रे केस करती फ्री लीगल एड इवन some women will be that register their names जब जब किसी हला ताहले 1% कम टैक्स पड़िबो तांगर फीस stamp duties general. So it has been included in the Article 39. Next, the state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as a unit of self-government. That means directory principles of state policy is given chance to that for the democratic decentralization under Article 14. That means through village panchayat. So the people can that secure their local development. Local. Please stop your audio visual. Again, open. So, in the economic sphere, in the directory principles of state policy, I will say in the nutshell that the state shall, within the limits of economic capacity and the development, make effective provision for securing the right to work. Of course, right to work has not been implemented in India due to lack of resources. It is a difficult task for India. But the directory principles of state policy will give the particularly chances how the development will be taken place. So different type of ads can be provided. Regarding right to work, which has been that included in our directory principles, our constitution. But the state shall make a provision for securing just and human condition of work and for maternity relief, rights of workers. It has been transformed into to secure in the participation of workers in the management of undertaking established of other organizations engaged in the industry in the Article 43. Before that there is no chances of the workers to tell anything to their industrial owner or the MD. Now, under the leadership of the Gandhi, that worker has been a part and parcel of the governing body of the industry. This has been a development and transformation. Regarding the children and weaker sections of the society, the state shall provide that facilities. The state is directed to provide within a period of 10 years, that is 6 to 14 years, that compulsory education, children up to the age of 14 years, Article 14, and which has been enshrined in the Constitution, the fundamental right under Article 24. Similarly, in the last point of this unit regarding the protection of agriculture and environment, if the agriculture and environment will not be protected by the government, the entire civilization can be collapsed. In India, the government is trying several times to satisfy the particularly farmers, and the recent years the economic package has been given to the maximum to the farmers, so that how the development will be come out. In this regard, the state shall endeavor to develop agriculture industry along the modern scientific lines. That how the modern agriculture equipment can be provided to the Indian farmers, so the production will be more. That is why the Parliament has been given the importance the agricultural plans and the program. Similarly, environment. That it is the duty of the state to protect and improve the environment and safeguard the forest and the wildlife of the country, because the ecological balance is necessary for the sustainable development. So that is why the directive principles of the state policy has been included all these aspects to enrich the particularly the targets. Anyway, on the fourth unit of this democracy development, here another question may be asked, that in your end term examination, that fundamental rights are not intended for socio-economic justice combat. You may write down the question. Next unit is diversity and pluralism, which has been reflected in this course. It includes the sub-points, the understanding of democracy, democracy and development, democracy and development, political democracy and economic development, political democracy and economic development in India. So different phase of development has been given from 1947 to 1967, 1967 to 1990, 1991 onwards. That means the liberalization, globalization, the urbanization would taken place for the development. That the decolonization of India, when India became decolonized, Indian independent, India almost lacked all the ingredients that makes a liberal democracy a success. समस्त प्रकार सुविधा नथिला। इंडिया हैड लो लेवल्स ऑफ लिटरेट, बहुत माने कम जो लिटरेट साक्षरता संख्या थिला, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन मध्य नथिला एंड डेमोक्रेटिक कॉन्शियसनेस मध्य लोक नथिले। ସେମାନେ କହୁଥିଲେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ସରକାର ହଉଛି ଅଛି, ଆମେ ଭଲ ଭାବରେ ଖାଉଛୁ, କମ ଦାମରେ ଜିନିଷ ମିଳୁଛି, ମାଛ 2 ଟଙ୍କାରେ ମିଳୁଛି, ମାଂସ 6 ଟଙ୍କାରେ ମିଳୁଛି, ଲାଇକ୍ ସୋ ଅନ୍, ବିକଜ lack of democratic consciousness. Another obstacle was in the pathway, that is democracy building, was the form of a centuries old hierarchical social order, hierarchical social order that was almost deliberately designed to resist the idea of political equality. जो टाइम ऑनर्ड कस्टम चिराचरित प्रथा ढंग जो दीर्घ दिन रही आम सोशल ऑर्डर जो ही आसला सी कौन ना आम पॉलिटिकल जो डेवलपमेंट को टिके विरोध कर। द पार्टीशन legacy in the form of the share of cultural and religious distinction, it was also another hurdle. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଭାରତ ପାକିସ୍ତାନ ଅଲଗା ହେଇଗଲା under Government of India Act 1947, it was also a hindrance in the way of development. But here due to the translation of our traditional culture values like pluralism, consensus, tolerance, inclusion and accommodation into modern political culture, as an independent India experienced in the past years. So here in this unit, I want to say that how India has developed its democracy through now within the diversity and pluralism. The unity in diversity is the basis of our constitution, and at the same time the pluralism. So here I can say in the nutshell, this particular unit 4, this unit focuses on the relationship of diversity and pluralism to democracy in India. It gives the experience that traditional cultural values of pluralism and tolerance provided sustenance to the growth of democracy in India. Because we are much familiar with our tradition, customs, rituals, and giving respect to all this, we have developed our democracy. The unity in diversity and the principle of recognition and accommodation has formed the basis of the nation building, for which we can analyze that in India we have multi-cultures, multi-religious, multi-language ethnicity. In spite of all these diversities, we have developed a unity and integrity of India and the brotherhoodness. But sometimes this pluralism has become a barrier for the nation building. So anyway, in this juncture, in this particular situation, in this juncture, coinciding with the erosion in the mediating the role of the state in the context of globalization, the role of civil society has become important. राष्ट्र हो बा ग्लोबलाइजेशन रो जो प्रभाव फल कौन ना जो सभ्य समाज किभली भाव एक प्रकार एक परिस्थिति को मध्य मध्यस्थता कर भारतर जो विकास धारा गणतांत्रिक विकास धारा को भाव में बजाय रखे इन दिस रिगार्ड here we can say the economies of liberalization and the politics of empowerment are going in opposite direction in contemporary India. Willingness and ability of the Indian state as in the past to play the mediating role is simply not there. But the situation forced there, the situation forced, there is a critical need to emphasize the role of the civil society and its citizens. यदि सभ्य समाज और नागरिक को बाध्य करी परिस्थिति जे किभली भाव में परिस्थिति को सामना करी मेडिएट करी डेमोक्रेसी डेवलपमेंट हो पाए. For the politics of common goods and rights, it is imperative that the Indian state should adopt a strategy of selective globalization that can enrich the pluralistic character of the Indian democracy. So, in this particular unit, I want to know you that how the democracy has developed with the diversity and pluralism. Towards an understanding of democracy is the subpoint of this unity in which the essential value of democracy lies in its moral superiority over any other way of arriving at a decision which take every citizen's interest into account and are equally binding on everyone. The core principles that underpin and justify democracy in this sense are twofold. First, the individuals are autonomous rational beings who are capable of deciding what is good for them. They can take the decision. Secondly, all individuals should have equal say in the determination of collective decisions which affects them all equally. एठी दुई प्रकार जो चिंताधारा को ग्रहण करा that in the democracy and development past, in the post-colonial society has been reflected. Political democracy and economic development, the first year of independence, the strategy of economic development was served by a political consensus. So all these things, what has been reflected in this unit, just I have detected in the nutshell. The political democracy and economic development from 1967 to 1990, that means how political democracy has been transformed, how it is been changed. The older democracy, that means from 1947 till 1967, it was the particularly Congress regime. That one party dominance. After 67, there is some political changes in order to the particularly the governmental the changes. The social groups who were on the margin of the society and were lying dominant became empowered with political voice after 1967. They now started making economic claims on a state that is successfully mediated between the politics and the economics of Indian democracy. The ensuing process of mediation and reconciliation and reconciliation on the part of the Indian state had long-term economic and political consequences. So, this political development, which the economic development could have taken place after the proper planning and the change of government and etc. But just I will draw an attention regarding the victory of the Janata Party not only reflected the strategicity of the Indian electorate but also proved conclusively that the democratic spirit had emerged in the political imagination of the Indian people. So 1967 to 1990, there is some political change. Then political democracy and economic development in India after that 1991 onwards, or from 1991 onwards. What has that developed? Democracy development evolved in 1991 when liberalization came in India to accept globalization. The liberalization actually that invited by India during 1991 when P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister and the Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister. The post-1991 India witnessed an absence of a consensus regarding its strategy of economic development as well as the evolving nature of its democracy. Yet, plan नथिला 1991 पूर्वरु भारतर गोटे इकोनॉमिक प्लान बा स्ट्रेटेजी किछि नथिला. The long-term vision of a political leadership, अर्थात नेहरू परे इंदिरा गांधी जेते सब कांग्रेस लीडर सब आसले सो रिप्लेस होइचंती सबुडा सब शॉर्ट टर्म स्ट्रेटेजी द न्यू इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज कहीं किसी करा जाएगी. बट फिर इन द 1991 the policies of liberalization and the emergence of politics of empowerment seem to be moving the economy and the politics in the opposite directions. What is of most significant is the unwillingness of the Indian state to mediate in order to effect the conflict resolution. So, এই পরিস্থিতিতে कौन होती जो रेडिकलिस्ट माने regarding the development planning model to the model economic liberalization just after a minor economic crisis when despite the decades of poverty the mixed economy model continued unabated. How come a minority government of Narasimha Rao could take such far-reaching policy change when the predecessor government with the overwhelming majority like the Congress regime under Rajiv Gandhi were unable to do so. Then आमे की compare करी परिवा जे राजीव गांधी full majority पाइला पोरे से जो economic development planning करी पारी नथिले किभली भाबरे पी.वी. नरसिंह राव गोटे माने झुला सरकार भीतर से किभली भाबरे जे पॉलिसी डेवलपमेंट को नहीं पारे एवं किभली भाबरे पॉलिटिकल डेमोक्रेसी एंड इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट could taken place during the regime of a P. Narasimha Rao. So, here, this question can be answered. That means, from the immediate economic compulsion of a crisis management, the political economies like that Jayanti Ghosh, Pranab Bardhan, Amit Bahaduri, and Deepak Narayan have referred to a combination of the national and international factors that explain that the shift was a crisis-driven and not a strategy-driven change in the economic policy. So, however, if we go in detail, then the unit 5 and 6 cannot be covered. That means the political change of a political democracy and inviting of a new economic policy and the liberalization, globalization, which have developed Indian democracy too. The international factors included the conditionalities imposed from the above by the international monetary institutions like IMF, World Bank. They supported the finance so that the Indian economic development could take place due to the political, due to the change of political democracy. ତେଣୁ 1991ରୁ ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯୋଉ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ସବୁ ହେଇଛି ତାହା ରାଜନୈତିକ ଗଣତନ୍ତ୍ରର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ଏବଂ we can say that anti-Congress party, the coalition government, ଏସବୁ ଆସିଲା ପରେ globalization ଏବଂ liberalization which gave scope for the industrialization, urbanization, the mixed economy, and the role of a multinational corporation. They came to that India to install factory or mines to provide some employment, and the government of India that signed with the different MNCs so that economic development has been expanded due to the political balance. So the economics of liberalization and the politics of empowerment going in opposite direction in the contemporary India. So here I can say the political democracy which has been given chances to that particularly democratic decentralization, democratic decentralization, the grassroots democracy has been given chance to the people how they will take the necessary steps for their local development. It is imperative that Indian states should adopt a strategy of selective globalization that can enrich the pluralistic character of the Indian democracy. In spite of this diversity and pluralism, the Indian states and its democracy has developed. যদিও বিভিন্নতা আছে, বিভিন্ন जो बहुलतावाद व्यवस्था আছে ता ভিতরে মধ্যে 1967 পরঠারু the Indian democracy has developed in a sweeping way. Next, so unit 5, the inequality, caste and class. Hello. My dear student, if any queries regarding this, so we can take the last 10 minutes regarding this the discussion. You may message in the chat box, so then I can comply it. Anyway, unit 5. the time is not sufficient, so we have to proceed the unit 5, the inequality, caste and the class, how it has become the hurdle for the national building or democratic development. And in this unit, I want to say, this unit particularly speaks about the inequality in terms of caste and the class. My dear students, you know, there are so many constitutional provisions has been added to reduce the inequality in terms of caste and the class, but still the differences has not been that completely that abolished. To reduce this social inequality, constitutional efforts have undertaken because these inequalities disturb the functioning of the democratic polity. In the name of a caste, so many organizations have been developed, and there is a class. This caste and the class barriers, the inequalities is the hurdles, the hindrances for the national building. Particularly the property classes, that means the capitalists and the high caste Brahmin continue to dominate non-elective institutions like bureaucracy, judiciary. The superiority nature of these institutions works to the disadvantages of the vulnerable groups like SC, ST, women, OBC, SC. So in this unit, here we would acknowledge on various aspects of the social inequality and their impact on democratic polity and the political economy of development in the post-colonial state in India. उपनिवेशवाद परे आम जितेबाला आम डिकोलोनियलाइज होला पर स्वाधीनतार पर उत्तर उपदेशिक जो परिस्थिति भितर जितेबाला भारत तो गणतंत्र विकास धारा जारी रही, these inequality is a hindrance. So, in this unity, notion of social equality has been reflected, nature of caste inequality in the different fields has been reflected. Caste is the colonial modernity or legacy of Brahminical traditions like a Varna system, Chari Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Nature of class inequality in India, interrelation of caste class hierarchies, social inequalities, development, and the participatory politics. All these inequalities has become hindrances in the way of democracy and development. In this regard, we can say particularly the Constitution of India set the agenda of a post-colonial state in India in terms of abolition of reduction of social inequalities. The objective of welfare state was make a modern casteless society by reducing century-old disabilities inflicted upon the depressed and attempted to improve their lot of providing them reservations and quota in education as well as job market, especially in state bureaucracy and overfilled public sector enterprise. Only to reduce the social inequality. Economically, the Constitution of India requires the state to treat all citizens equally without regard to birth, irrespective of birth, gender, religious belief. How that equality can be maintained? That has been a matter of that question. However, society does not function merely on the basis of formal principles. The enforcement of legal doctrines and attempts to remove social discrimination is a process entangled in the complexities of social formation. So, the age-old aspects like jati, varna, and class, therefore, still that permit our families, our localities, and a political institution. In the name of a caste, in the name of a jati, the political leaders, they are also campaigning their vote banks. So, this unit focuses the various aspects of social inequality and how their impact have created the hindrances in the democratic polity, the political economy of development in the post-colonial state of India. So here, social inequality in the different stages. Like the people of wealth or economic resources, political power, status, regardless of potential abilities possessed by individuals, they dominate the poor, destitute, the weaker sections. So similarly, in many pre-industrial agrarian societies, we have seen that access to social opportunities and status was also determined by birth. Particularly the role status of individual was assigned by virtue of factors outside her own control, such as birth, sex, age, kinship, relationships. These are some aspects which create the inequality among the people and which influence to the polity and the political development. So this assigned role was rationalized as a divinely that ordained and natural. The medieval Europe were unequally ranked, and this hierarchy of ranks was legally recognized and approved by religious normative order of the society. Indian caste system was another type of validation of social hierarchy. सामाजिक स्तरीकरण रे ये जो अच्छी हायरार्की स्तरीकरण रे जो कास्ट सिस्टम अच्छी से कास्ट सिस्टम sometimes that it has become challenges for the nation building. That means democratic development ପାଇଁ କିଭଳି ଭାବେ ଏମାନେ ସବୁ ପ୍ରତିବନ୍ଧକ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରୁଛନ୍ତି। ତେଣୁ ମଡର୍ନ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଆଲ ଡେମୋକ୍ରାଟିକ ସୋସାଇଟିରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ତାକୁ ଇନିକ୍ୱାଲିଟିଟାକୁ ରିଡ୍ୟୁସ୍ କରାଯିବ ବା ଆମେ ଚାହିଁଲେ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ମାତ୍ରାରେ inequality टाको evaporate करि परिबानी diminish करि परिबानी रहिबो but the merit professor that should be given that chances but the caste untouchability the religiosity or higher class rural class this attitude should be abandoned. The society moved from the principle of hierarchy to stratification. According to the sociologists, the hierarchy prevailed in the society based on the caste or estate and the social inequalities were legitimated as naturally given. Stratification, on the other hand, is a feature of modern industrial society in which inequalities do exist but are not considered as a part of natural or divine order. So, in this process, suppose social change, inequality did not vanish or reduce, but changed its nature. Suppose, वर्तमान कौन है ना class boundaries become more that pros and cons, preamble, permeable. Individual mobility is possible and the society is motivated, order is based formal equality. So, in this particular situation, social equality को inequality को overcome करने पाए different types of constitutional that efforts has been taken. Secondly, the nature of caste inequality जो भारत वर्ष रे जो रही से किभली भाव रे सृष्टि होची the particularly there is an enormous body of academic writings political polemic on the issue that these are basically a part of debate on the transformation of Indian society under the impact of colonialism and its administrative mechanism. किसी जुक्ति उपस्थापन करती जे pre-colonial social structure including caste other अन्य माने कौन करती ना qualitative change introduced करने पे तो the nature of caste inequalities एठी जहाँ थाउना कहीं की क्योंकि nature of our I want to inform you that particularly in India that Hindu and the separate Indians culturally from the Western civilization that is making India a land of static, unchangeable, oriental, the Brahminical values. जो ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य शूद्र द ब्राह्मण को मानव को नहीं कि किभली भाव में ब्राह्मण माने श्रेष्ठत्व सो सामान्य अपर क्लास एवं क्षत्रिय दे विल मीन टू फॉर द safeguard of the nation as well as the upper class. The other two that classes, the caste like Vaishya Sudra, they will render their service to the upper two classes, so that the society is been stratified and there is that inequality. So the principle of a Brahminical hierarchy was that not uniformly followed by all Hindus, yet but still there is some that inequality. This that nature of caste inequalities has been that changed through rules of that constitutional form in the way of the class, like the general SC, ST, OBC, it has been stratified. The nature of inequality that creates the democratic development. So that is why Indian social reform and nationalist perception of caste So they have tried to set up a new changes. So another point is caste as the invitation of the invention of a colonial modernity or a legacy of a Brahminical system. How they, according to this view, that the Brahminism represents a core civilization value, and the caste is the central symbol of this value. It is the basic expression of the pre-colonial tradition of India. ଏବଂ ଏହାକୁ ବିରୋଧ କରି ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଇଛି କ'ଣ that caste is a product of colonial modernity. By this, it does not mean that the caste did not exist before the advent of the British. He is simply suggesting that caste became a single unique category under the British rule that expressed and provided the sole index of understanding India. In the past, there were diverse forms of social identity and a community in India. The British reduced everything to single explanatory category of a caste. It was the colonial state and its administrators who made the caste into a uniform, all-encompassing and ideological consistent organization. So, anyway, the attempts to diminish the significance of Brahmins and Brahminical or is not in accordance with the familiar historical records and the persistence of the caste identity even in the contemporary Indian social life. Caste term and principles were certainly not in universal use pre-colonial periods. Caste in its various manifestations and forms was also not an immutable entity. However, starting from the Vedas and the great epics from Manu and other Dharma Shastra, from Puranas, Mahabharata, and ritual practices, the penal system of Veda rules, who published culprits according to these caste principles. So, however, this identical that superiority has been evolved the long back. So the Brahminical tyranny was going on during the colonial administration, and which has been that reformed through constitutional rules and the regulation. So what about the nature of class inequality? Class inequality, like the propertied class and also propertyless. Those who are propertyless. These are class of societies are characterized by that horizontal division of the society into strata. Now in the Marxist system, what is now classes are defined by their differential access to the means of production. The dominant classes appropriate the surplus produced by other classes. Worker को द्वारा produce होउथिबा जो जिनस उत्पादन जहाँ होउछि से उत्पादनर अंश वर्कर थिले मध्य ताकू मैनेजरियल क्लास द इंडस्ट्रियल ओनर तो मिल जाए. So for which the industry owner that gain more, but the laborers they exploit by the industrial owners. What exploit? Exploit the labor. For example, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଆଲ ଓନର ମାନେ ଅଧିକ ପରିମାଣରେ ଲେବର को देखती से मूलचाल करती जे प्रकृत किभली भाव में क्लास इनइक्वालिटी इंडिया रे थिला एवं मार्क्सिस्ट व्यू अनुसार किभली कह जो इंडस्ट्रियल जो काम कम अच्छी अधिक लेबर अच्छी सेठी इंडस्ट्रियल ओनर बार्गेन करेंगे मन करा जाऊ दी कॉस्ट ऑफ लेबर इज 300 so the industrial owner will bargain if the workers will agree with 200 rupees so he can also given chance to engage the worker will the render is the work period that full time that is the 8 hours but he will that get only 200 but 100 rupees that extra it is the owner the 100 rupees is the owner of labor ये हूँ लेबर जो पैसा एवं से 100 टंकार जो पारिश्रमिक प्लस तार द्वारा जो प्रोडक्शन हुए तो सब गुड़िक हूँ कि इंडस्ट्रियल ओनर लेबर जो क्लास जो रिच एंड पुअर दे डेवलप्ड सीरियसली एंड richer become richer and poorer become poorer. So, capitalist society प्रकार थिला. The rise and growth of Indian social classes was that organically linked to the basic structure of colonialism and bore the imprint of that association. That what? इटा आमो एठी केमिति नामर जो ब्रिटिश जो एरा समय ब्रिटिश एरा समय जो जमीदारी सिस्टम थिला कि ब्रिटिश सरकार जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हिसाब रे जमीदार मौजादार एमाने जो कलेक्ट करुथिले सब रेवेन्यू एवं समान हाथ रे जमी गुडा थिला दे वर द प्रॉपर्टी ओनर एंड दे एक्सप्लॉइट सिवियरली टू द पिलर्स जो माने चाष करुथिले तेणु ये गोटे हायरार्की थिला किंतु ये जो सोशल इनइक्वालिटी जो थिला ताको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल नॉर्म्स रे तो किभली भाव रे डेवलपमेंट हिची तेणु पोस्ट कॉलोनियल इंडिया अरे कौन हिची ना डिफरेंट फॉर्मल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इक्वालिटी एंड सोशल जस्टिस को गवर्नेंस रे डेवलप रहा कि आईन तैयारी करा दी कि किभली भाव रे इनइक्वालिटी रहिला नहीं. No social entity exists in a vacuum. The functioning democratic polity is profoundly and unfairly influenced by caste and class based on inequalities. So, the overall balance of forces in the state, especially in the non-elective institutions such as the judiciary, the police, and the bureaucracy inherited from the colonial period, continues to be under the domain of hegemony of the principal proprietor. जो माने प्रोपर्टी क्लास से बड़ बड़ पोस्ट रे दिया जाउथला पर कास्ट को जो सुजोग दिया जाउथला किंतु जो माने अन्य कास्ट रहिले टिके तल कास्ट लोक समान को चांस दिया नथला. द पॉलिटिकल एंड पब्लिक स्पेसेस ऑफर लिटिल स्कोप फॉर द एम्पावरमेंट ऑफ द पुअर एंड द लोअर कास्ट को एवं जो पुअर मान को तांको सशक्त करने पे सुजोग दिया नथला. The violence against the rural poor, especially the women of lower caste and the sufferings of the people living in unhygienic conditions in sparing the slums cannot be captured by the statistical indices. While the rich and powerful there garner the legal and illegal fruits of developmental process and distribution of resources by the state. The disadvantaged are victims of both the naked and subtle form of deprivation and discrimination. ये जो आद्वारा कौन होतला समाज रे अवहेलित लोक जो समाज रे जो गुडी को वीकर सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी सो दे बिकम अवहेलित लोक ସେମାନେ ବଞ୍ଚିତ ହେଲେ. ତେଣୁ जो डेमोक्रेटिक डेवलपमेंट रे ये जो यूनिट रे रहिला कि कास्ट इनइक्वालिटी किभଳି ଭାବରେ ଆମ डेमोक्रेटिक डेवलपमेंट को पछुको आनिथिला एवं तापरे डेमोक्रेटिक डेवलपमेंट हला पर पार्टिसिपेटरी पॉलिटिक्स किभଳି भाବରେ प्रत्येकांशरे समाधान करिछि तथापि वर्तमान इनइक्वालिटी कंटिन्यू that unfortunately sometimes the sixth unit, the political economy of development, the global divide, poverty of income comparison, global social reality, and due to the agenda for political economy development, some important aspects of the political economy, theories of development, capital accumulation, role of limitation, international capital flows, role of the state, the counter revolution in development economies, the LPG package, LPG package outline of the political economy approach. So here in this political economy development, this political economy development have been that developed for the due to the introduction of LPG package. Here, my dear student, I would say the LPG here is not the full form of liquefied petroleum gas. No, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So, this particularly liberalization, privatization, and globalization have developed the political economy in India. And will not proceed the global divide here. The poverty, unemployment, disease, secular frequent disasters, crime and inequalities are openly visible. So poverty of income comparison. The estimated income level of different do not fully capture the socio-economic condition of the existence of the people. This is so for many reasons. For one thing, income is related. My dear student, you may follow the poverty of income comparison. For income is related to the market-centric activities, but many critically important activities, including those connected with the material aspects and bearing on well-being, social rule, and esteem are non-market activities and involve family, community, state, civil society, organization, etc. These largely non-market activities have little to do with income flows. Then market does not incorporate everyone. Different people are non-functional, unjust, critical, and excluded a large number of people for varying lengths of time from participation in its aim of activities and transactions. So here in this unit, we can say what it expresses. The unit 6, that particularly the students, how the students will acquaint the political economy of development in India. So that is why some discussion on the political economy of development and some important theories of development and their applicability to India has been included. It argues that to measure the development in terms of income serves the cooperative groups in the rich countries. A political economy approach which restricts the free choice of the people cannot have a predominated universal pattern of development. So the poverty income, comparison, you see the global social reality essential for maldevelopment and the agenda of the political economy of development. Particularly, there is a clear recognition of the inability of growth from poverty reduction policies to realize the potential of the scientific technological revolution, जो को कहा जाए हमें सब फॉर्म रे STR, scientific technological revolution, resource availability like physical, financial, technical, human organization, and the basic humanistic value structure essentially supported by almost all major schools of thought and ideology. The basic question facing development theories now is that despite over 2 centuries of modern economic growth based on industrial revolution of various vintages and over half of century of the highly mobilized national and international individuals, fairly limited positive as also that perverse anti-development outcomes have been obtained. The limited positive gains remain confined to a select few. Even this has been obtained at an incalculable economic and non-economical cost even to the beneficiaries in terms of moral, social, political, aesthetic, communitarian aspect of life. So, multifaceted deprivation, degradation, and dehumanization has become the fate of the vast majority who are made to carry the cross of modernity and industrialization. So, on a balanced way, it may not be an exaggeration to treat the global growth and industrialization of the last 5 centuries as of now. So, however, you see, the development is a normative historic social process and the outcomes is by definition and in essential logic inclusion humanistic empowering. So some important aspects of the political economy theories of development you may follow in the that PDF file. So it is too late. Just I conclude the capital accumulation role of limitations, international capital flows, role of the state, the counter revolution and the development economic of the LPG package, outline of the political economy approach PE. So just I am expressing the concluding points that the global divide between the rich and the poor. It is global divide माने विश्व धनी एवं गरीब मध्य रे किभली भाबरे divide हेछि in the both developed and developing countries. Developed countries जो माने विकसित हो जाइछन्ति, developing जो माने विकासर पाहाचरे जो देश गुडी कोछन्ति, and the fact that growth and economic levels are not necessarily an indication of an increase in the standard of living. तेणु ये जो यूनिट रे जो डिस्कशन होची जे पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी ऑफ डेवलपमेंट and some of the important political economic theories development and its applicability, especially with regard to India. भारत रे किसी इकोनॉमिक थियोरी को एटी डिस्कशन कराई एडाप्ट कराई किभली भारतर अर्थनैतिक स्थिति किभली भाव सुधुरी एमती इनकम cannot be made by only development factor which seems to be the result of monopolization of development issues by economics, especially as it is evolved in the rich countries. जो धनिक राष्ट्र गुड़िक जो डेवलप्ड कंट्री लाइक अमेरिका जापान फ्रांस तेणु इंडिया इज द डेवलपिंग कंट्री तेणु ये जो यूनिट रे आम कौन बुझले डेवलपमेंट इज ए नॉर्मेटिव दैट होलिस्टिक social process and outcome is by definition and its essential logic that comes from the political economy of development. PD. Development studies. Political economic development requires that in addition to the state and the market, Rashtra, Bajara, economic and it should address the entire range of civil society institutions and should not focus exclusively on the state market or NGOs. तेणु जो किभली भाव रे कैपिटल एक्युमुलेशन हेची एफडीआई फॉरेन जो एड किभली भाव रे आसुची इनफ्लोज ए मीन्स ऑफ ग्रोथ लिबरलाइजेशन और प्राइवेटाइजेशन और ग्लोबलाइजेशन किभली भाव रे जो इकोनॉमिक दैट डेवलपमेंट करेची माने इंडिया रे that has been reflected in this unity. The political economy development जो पाई गवर्नमेंट रेस्पॉन्सिबल the government accept करिछि कोटा फर्स्ट 1991 लिबरलाइजेशन प्राइवेटाइजेशन पर प्राइवेटाइजेशन आला पर ग्लोबलाइजेशन जे से इंक्लूड करिछि द पैकेज सजेस्टेड बाय द के ना जेतले अंतर्जातिक फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन दे दैट इन्फ्लुएंस लाइक आईएमएफ वर्ल्ड बैंक फॉर काकू माने घंटा बजेले जेमिति हे पोर कंट्री माने वीक कंट्री माने यू कम जॉइन विथ अस फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमी जदि क्राइसिस रे अछो तम माने हम सहित जो कमिट करो सो दैट we can help. So India also joined and invited liberalization, introduced liberalization, and then privatization came and involved in the globalization and welcome to MNCs to install their factory and mines to appropriate the natural resources, resulted in a big racket of the state and disenchantment. A political economy approach cannot stand for a development paradigm which restricts people free choices and cannot have a predominated universal pattern of development. तो ये political economy जो development जो माने हला एथिरे globalization invite हला पर some extent development हेची किंतु एटी लोक मानन तो फ्री चॉइस ता रहिला नाही लोकल जो अफेक्टेड हला रीजनल अफेक्टेड हला जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट दैट सॉवरेनिटी अफेक्टेड हला सो एनीवे सो इकोनॉमी की political economy has given chance to it's the development of democracy. 2 minutes. Preamble called the soul of the constitution. Please, please write their name, program code, hello. Now, just I am discussing some questions in the message box. Last question, Preamble. Don't receive my books. Thanks. Sudharanjan Das. So, why is the preamble called the soul of the Constitution? This question, you see, because the Constitution expresses everything. The preamble expresses everything. The constitutional content has been reflected in the nutshell, in the short form, using the preamble. So the one can acknowledge the Indian Constitution through the preamble, because that is why I told the preamble that expresses and gives us information about the four things of Constitution, like sources of the Constitution, nature of a polity, the objectives of the Constitution, and the date of the adoption. So that is why the preamble is called soul of the Constitution. What is the difference between decentralization and decolonialization? Yes, Kalpana Das. Yes, the difference between decentralization and decolonialization is you see, these are the two different terms. Decolonialization is the independent status of a state just after the colonialization, which is called the post-colonialization period. Decolonialization is an independent status. But decentralization is the decentralization of powers. Decentralization of powers and authority. So that means the power or of the authority will not concentrate in a particular unit or the particular person. So it will be just like the democratic decentralization in India, which has been reformed in the article, 73rd and 74th amendment regarding democratic decentralization, that rural panchayat raj and also urban panchayat raj. Decentralization is something different. That decentralization of power, that the power not concentrated in one hand, it should be decentralized. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, पहला आउ के पिला चाहते कि व्हाई इज प्रेम्बल ये तो गला आउ के ए दुईटा क्वेश्चन थिला.
Yeah, students, if you have any query, you can ask or you can write in the chat box. If you don't have any question, then you can close the session. Please either you write in chat box or you can directly show your query. You have any query? I think they don't have any query.
Sir, they have asked, sir, why my book has been